Hi, Jason from Betta Batteries here. Today I just want to walk you through the importance of temperature compensation and charging. It's probably one of the most overlooked things when it comes to the charging of any lead-based battery, is the fact that we need to adjust the voltage in accordance with the temperature. And that can get really critical when we're at the more extreme ends of temperature. But it will give a big difference to the life and the way that a battery lasts over the life of a battery if you can achieve good temperature compensation. There's a lot of conjecture on things like where to put a temperature probe, for example. Some people believe to put the probe on the battery terminal. Some people like to put it on the top of the case. Some people like to put it on the side of the case. Here at Betta Batteries, and people may argue this all over the world, I'm sure, but we find that if it's a high load application where you're pulling a fair bit of current out of the battery, sometimes the wrong place to put it is on the terminal, because you're getting a bit of a false sense of what's happening in the battery. A high load can create a fair bit of heat on a terminal, and we sometimes find that as batteries age and cables age, you get a little bit of extra heat there because of a bit of corrosion on that terminal. So we always recommend on the side of the battery. If you can glue it to the side of the battery, you'll get a far better temperature response from your charger, because it's a true indication of the heat being generated in the battery. Somewhere in the middle is good. Again, sometimes if it's too close to one end, and this is a great example where both terminals are on the same end of the battery, one side can get a bit warmer if you're really up near a terminal. So we find in that core in the middle is a great place to put it. But the importance of temperature really comes to play in really cold environments and really hot environments. So, for example, in the Antarctic, we need to increase our voltages to compensate for the cold. So, as a battery cools, we've got to raise that voltage level and push some more voltage into the battery. Conversely, in a very hot environment like here in Australia, or in our friends in Africa, or even in the UAE and in the deserts, where you've got very, very hot temperatures, we need to significantly reduce the voltage to take the pressure off the battery, because the battery's already in a very hot environment, and any charge current we push into it is only going to inflame that. So we reduce that voltage down to take a bit of pressure off the battery. And you'll find that by doing that, you'll get a good long life out of the battery. Well, it'll certainly extend the life of your battery. On our data sheet, which I happen to have one here, on our data sheet that are all available from our website, www.bettabatteries.com, under the download sections, you'll find there's a chart. The longest chart right at the top is always our temperature compensation, and it will give you a temperature and a volts per cell. So, for example, at 40 degrees in this particular battery, which is a 6 CNFJ 28, it's just a little bitty 28, that's a 6, tells me it's got 6 cells. So I times my volts per cell by 6, and that'll give me the voltage that I need to charge that battery at 40 degrees. This can be a tricky thing, because there's lots of little environments in the world that can catch you out with temperature, and a really common one is in marine applications, where they put the batteries in the same room that the engines are in. So you might have a beautiful 40-foot boat, and I wish I had one, but you got 2 big Caterpillar engines in there singing away at creating an environment of 55 degrees, and 2 house batteries that are having someone upstairs have a good time with microwaves and lights and radios trying to run off of. So very important in that environment that we adjust the voltage for that environment. And that can be tricky, because in the harbour, when we go to visit that room, it's a nice 20-degree day or whatever the temperature of the day is, but 10 minutes later, under full throttle, that room can get quite hot. So certain environments that you just need to be conscious of your environment that the battery's going in and adjust accordingly. One of the big ones that we see regularly, and especially here in Australia and somewhat in Africa, is under bonnet in vehicles. So when you put a battery under bonnet, we find that at the back corners of the bonnet, you can get in excess of 90 degrees temperature in the back corners, especially in V8 diesels and the V8s, and up the front we get a little bit less. But again, we need to adjust the voltage going to that battery so that it doesn't boil the battery. A lot of your good modern DC to DC chargers will do that automatically. But again, just something to be very aware of. So there you go. So temperature compensation, a really important one to keep in mind. Thanks for your time.